Дорогие друзья, сегодня у нас в гостях легендарная личность. Всемирно известный солист, популярный в 70-х группы «Смоки», композитор, музыкант, автор многочисленных хитов и просто обаятельный человек Крис Норман. Chris, we're delighted to see you here today. Thank you kindly for coming all the way from Great Britain to be here with us today.
Pleasure.
And I know it's your first time in Canada, although it's hard to believe. What are your first impressions of our country and our people?
Well, it seems very nice. I mean, it's very hard to tell, and it's like a snapshot I'm getting, really, you know, because I only got here yesterday, and so all I've done really is I had a walk around Toronto yesterday, went down to the lake, and just, you know, had something to eat and had a walk around, and that's about all I've got so far. So, but it seems very nice.
Hopefully next time you'll have more time and you'll discover.
Yeah, well, this time I was supposed to come a bit earlier, but the flight I was on got cancelled, so I was put back a day, and my plan was to come and you know, do a little bit of sightseeing, maybe go down to Niagara Falls and take some trips and have a look around. But because the flight was cancelled a day, then I only had yesterday, and now today's the concert, and
I see.
I'm going to Chicago tomorrow, so I don't have any more time.
Next time then. You were just 3 years old when you walked on stage for the first time. Do you still remember
So they
that?
tell me. No, I don't remember. I don't remember
You
that.
don't?
No, I don't
That's
remember
funny.
that. No.
At the age of 7, you got your first guitar, and you're still playing guitar now. Why were you attracted to this particular instrument?
Well, when I was like 7, it was in the 50s, and it was during the time with Buddy Holly and Elvis and all that. And I had older relatives who used to listen to that. They were like about 9 years, 10 years older than me, so they were like 16, 17. And they were buying all these records, and I got to listen to them through them, you know. So I was kind of hooked already, and so I wanted a guitar as soon as I could. We bought this guitar, I think, for like £3
Wow.
in a second-hand shop, and my mum and dad bought me it, but I could never play it. So I didn't really start playing when I was 7. I had a guitar, and I used to sort of like have it on my knee and play it with my thumb, you know. I couldn't do anything else, and then I couldn't get anywhere, so I put it away. And then when the Beatles and all that happened, when I was about 13, I got back into it, and then I bought another guitar, and this time I tried to learn how to play it, you know. So I've been playing guitar really since I was about 13.
Oh, that's amazing. You mentioned Beatles. You were growing up at the era of Beatles and Rolling Stones. How did they influence you?
Oh,
as
hugely,
an artist?
hugely, because I'd already got the rock and roll bug from when I was younger, from the Elvis and the Little Richard and the Buddy Holly thing, and a guy called Lonnie Donegan, who was a skiffle guy, who kind of influenced just about everybody of my generation and older, and he was great too. So when the Beatles came out, and the Stones and the Animals and the Kinks and all those groups from the 60s, I just thought it was amazing, and so I wanted to be that, and right from being a teenager, I thought, I'm going to do that one of these days. I'm going to be exactly what that is. That's what I'm going to do.
You were so inspired.
Yeah, and I kind of had a passion for it and knew that I would do that. You know, I just felt one day it's going to happen. Yeah.
And so you did,
Yeah.
which is great. The band tried different names for a while, and finally you came up with Smokey. Was it because of your distinguished voice?
I think it was partly that, yeah. It was. We didn't actually think of the name. It was Mike Chapman who came up with the idea, and he was our producer. And I think he probably had something to do with that voice thing and everything. I think so. Yeah. And it was easy to remember. Certainly easier than the names you had before. So.
Yeah, and it does sound very sexy, I would say. Speaking of Smokey, what do you think is the key the key factor behind the success of Smokey, other than your voice?
Well, we were a good band. We played around for a long time. We've been playing up and down the whole length of Britain since about 1967, 68. So we'd already had like 7 years of it before we had our first hit, and we had a few records out that didn't make it, but we had a lot of time to experience, you know, playing to audiences, getting to play better. What have you done there? What's that chord? And trying to get that off, and we had a good harmony sound, which was easy. It came naturally to us because the three of us just sang easily together. So I think all that stuff, and then of course we had in the end, when we finally did start to break through, we had a really good record company, and I think one of the best producers of you know, of the rock and roll time.
At that time.
Which was Mike Chapman, and he was just a great producer. I mean, which was what we were missing. We were missing somebody to direct us because we didn't have any idea really of where to go and how to make records then, not really.
Yeah.
And he did it. He was the one that made that happen and wrote some great songs for us too.
Yeah.
So
One of
it
my
was all that thing
favorites.
together, you know. Yeah.
One of my favorites is "Living Next Door to Alice," co-written by Mike Chapman and Nicky Chang. Could you
Yeah.
tell us more about collaboration with this? Too?
Well, actually, that was a song we didn't want to record, to be honest, because we were already on like the back of 4 or 5 hits by then, and we were going in a certain direction. And Mike Chapman played us this song, "Living Next Door to Alice," in the studio when we were recording an album, and we said, "It's a bit, you know, it's a bit schmaltzy, it's a bit country. It's not really what we're doing, you know." And he said, "Well, let's just record it for the American market because it might be a success in the countryside of the American market."
Yeah.
So we said, "Okay, let's do that. We'll just put it on the album for America." And then when we got back to England, Mickey Most, who was the guy who owned the record label we were on, he said, "That's the next single." And we went,
That's
"No,
a
no,
hit."
no, 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 no. That's only for America, you know." And then all the rest of the countries that were, you know, EMI that were putting out our records all went, "That's the single." So we kind of got stuck with it, and we didn't want it, to be honest. Now, having said that, it sort of shows you, you know, what you say, well, what did you know? But in a way, it kind of changed us because before that we were more serious, and after that we weren't taken so seriously because people thought of it like it's sort of a sing-along song, and it kind of changed us. So it was a huge hit all
Yes.
over the world, and it sold lots of records.
Yeah.
But in a way, I kind of still think if we'd have gone a different
Route.
missed that one out, I think we'd have been thought of in a different way.
I
It's
see.
like before that we were kind of thought of like the British Eagles. And if you imagine the Eagles doing "Living Next Door to Alice," it doesn't sit really.
Yeah.
And we did, and it kind of changed us, you know.
Still we love it.
Yeah, well,
It's-
that's great. The audiences love it, so you know that's what it's about. You know, you go on stage and people want to hear songs that they love, and so you do them. And as long as I've grown used to doing it now, and people love it, and so it's fine.
I believe you've been asked these questions numerous times, but I still will want our audience to know, why did you decide to leave smoking?
Well, we kind of already split up in the early 80s, like 82. We'd really, not officially, but we'd kind of split. We weren't recording anymore, we weren't playing anymore, we weren't doing anything anymore. And I'd started to do other things. I'd started to produce and do some records on my own, some solo records. And so I was kind of already in that direction. And then we got back together in 85 to do like there was this charity show for the Bradford fire disaster football team had this, and we did this charity show. And from then we were asked if we'd go back and do some touring again. So we did. And during that time I recorded a song as a solo artist called "Midnight Lady,"
Yeah.
which became a huge hit. And then I had to decide, well, do I want to continue to follow this solo thing, which I've been doing since 1982, or do I want to stay with Smokey and leave that solo thing alone? Because I couldn't do both, really.
Absolutely.
Because if I did both, it would be, I'd never go home.
Yeah.
Because I was being asked to tour and
Yeah.
stuff as a solo artist and still with Smokey. I would have always been, so I
On
thought
the
I have
road.
to choose. And I decided to go with the solo stuff because it was what I've been trying to do anyway for the last 3 years, 4 years.
Since you've mentioned Midnight Lady, you were born in Great Britain, you live in Great Britain, but you are extremely popular in Germany. How would you explain that phenomenon?
Well, I don't know why exactly. Smokey were always very popular in Germany. We were having hits all over. In England, we were, you know, our records would go, say for instance, like "Living Next Door to Alice" was number 5 in the top 10. If You're Thinking Out Love Me was number 3. We had those kind of chart positions, which were great. But in Germany, we were always number 1.
Yeah.
And so I don't know why that was. The Germans just liked us, I guess. And then when I started my solo career, "Midnight Lady" was a song from a German film, TV movie. So that's why I got sort of involved with Germany more because of that.
In 1978, you scored an international top 10 hit with a duet with Susie Quattro, Stumbling In. Is there anyone you wish to sing a duet with, past or present?
Oh, that's a difficult question. I've never thought of it that way, past or present. Yeah, I guess so. You know, I would like. I mean, there's loads of singers that I really admire. From people like John Lennon, I would like to do a duet with somebody like John Lennon. Would have been great. Judy Garland would have been great. Aretha Franklin, maybe. Frank Sinatra.
Wow.
You know, I mean, there's some great singers out there.
Yeah.
I may still do that eventually. I might still do a duets album or something eventually. I don't know yet, but there are a few people I wouldn't mind singing with. But there's a lot I wouldn't like to, you know. So it's not just a case of, oh, I'm going to do some duets, because you've got to get people who want to do it as well. You can't say you're doing a duet with me and they go, I don't want to. So.
Yeah, but that hit was amazing, and I love it. Everybody in the former Soviet Union knows it. Stumbling In was number one.
It was a big hit everywhere. Really.
Yes. So Russia, we'll talk about Russia a bit. You've been in Russia numerous times, in Moscow and some other cities. What were you impressed the most in that country?
Well, the main thing that I think of is how it changed from when I first went there in '94, which was only like 3 years after Glasnost and Perestroika.
Well, your Russian is great too.
Spasiba. And so it was only 3 years after, and it was still very kind of, you could feel the kind of the socialist thing that was still going, the communist thing. And over the years, it's changed a lot. I mean, now it's a bit awkward what's going on and stuff there, but it's really changed a lot over that sort of 20 years. And that's the thing I noticed most of it. And also how great the audiences are. I mean, they're just great. The Russian audiences are so warm. Sometimes they're not sure whether they should do certain things, which is a sort of a throwback to the discipline thing.
Like what?
Well, like they don't know. Like if you play here or in England or Germany or wherever, and you go on, if they want to get up and shout and scream, they do immediately. They don't wait for permission. In Russia, they sit like that for a bit. and I'm saying, come on, you can get up. And you can, especially towards the end of the set when it gets a bit rocky. As everybody get up and, you know, they're looking, are we allowed? You know? So it's a bit reserved because of that. I think it comes from throwback from the old communist days.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Behind every great man, there is a great woman. And definitely I want to ask you about your wife, Linda.
Yeah.
Please tell us a few words about this lady.
Well, we met when I was in Scotland, well before I had any success at all. Except we were just playing, you know. And we were doing a tour of Scotland. I say a tour, it sounds really grand. It was only little clubs and stuff. And we were staying in a town called Elgin, which is in the north of Scotland, and she lived there. And I just met her in, there was like a little cafe in the park where we used to go and eat. And her and her friends and her sister, they used to go in there too. And I just met her and started to talk to her. And then it went from there. So I was only like 17 when I first met her.
So it was a love from the first sight.
Yeah, and then I went home, back to England, and she was there 400 miles away. And we used to write letters to each other. And then next time I went, we met again, and that carried on for a couple of years. And eventually, about 2 years later, we didn't want to be apart. So it was decided she should come down, and we got married.
Chris, it's quite unusual for someone in show business to be married to the same person for so many years. So what's the secret of your marriage longevity?
There's no secret. I mean, people ask me that a lot, really. Is there a secret? There is no secret. You get lucky, I guess, you know. If there's any kind of thing I would say to anybody who's married and is wondering, it's friendship, really. Because, you know, when you first meet somebody, you've got to fancy them, you've got to think they look nice, you've got to feel, you know, sexually attracted to them and all that, which is normal. And that's what people do. And then they think, well, I can't live without this person's passion. I want to get married. And then when they get married and they start to live together, they find that they don't like each other very much. And that's the hard part. And with us, we liked each other straight away. And we always have. And we're really close, we're really friends. You've got to be friends, you know, just like you do with somebody of the same sex. You know, I've known Pete Spencer, who was the drummer of Smokey. We've been close friends since 1968, and we still are. it's the same thing, except there's obviously there's no romance, but it's the same thing. You've got to like somebody a lot.
Yeah, friendship is a foundation of any marriage.
yeah.
I grew up with your songs. I'm sorry to say that, but you've been on stage for a long time, and you still write and you still sing. What inspires you now?
I just love the music business, and I think I'm actually better at it than I used to be. You know, when you think back when we were in our 20s, we were still learning, really. I'm still learning, but I think I'm better at it. I know what it's about. I know how to make records. I know how to write songs better. I know how to perform better. So I just love the music business. It's a passion for me. You know, I always knew I wanted to do it from being a kid, and I don't want to stop until I have to. You know, when I stop, it'll be when when my body won't go anymore. When I can't get up on stage and sing, then I'll stop. As long as I can, I'll probably keep doing it.
And please do so. We represent Russian-speaking community here in Canada, all those people coming from the former Soviet Union.
Yeah.
And we are great fans of your talent, of yours. What would you like to say to those who will be at the concert today and who, for some reason, wouldn't be able to make it but still love you dearly?
Well, for the people who come into the concert, I would say, I'm sure they're going to enjoy themselves. I do a mixture of everything that I've done. Like it's like in about 1 hour 45 minutes, I kind of do a sketch of everything that I've done, really. So I do like some smoky tracks, quite a few smoky tracks, some solo stuff off the new album, and some of my favorite songs too. From other people, I do a few of those, and it's balanced out to make people have a good time. So I'm sure they're going to have a good time, and at the end of the night, we're rocking and partying. And for those people who can't come, I'm sorry that they can't, because they're going to miss a good show and they're going to miss a good night out. That's basically what it is.
Yeah, and we're looking very much for it, because I'm planning to be there as well.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. We wish you lots of love, lots of happiness.
Thank you very much.
And we hope you will enjoy our audience tonight.
I'm sure I will. Thank you very much.
Thank you kindly.